Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and very good morning to all of you. I hope you're safe and sound. Welcome to Melly's Telegram classes. This is the grammar lesson on active and passive voice for intermediate level, part 1. In this lesson, we're going to talk about voice. What is voice? Voice is a form of the verb which shows whether subject is the doer or the receiver of the action. In other words, we can use the voice to identify whether the subject does an action or receives an action. For example, in this sentence, the dog ate the meat. The dog is the subject, and it is the doer of the action. And the action is ate, the second form of eat. Bill studied English. Bill is the subject of the sentence and studied is the action. It means that Bill is the doer of the action. The subject is the doer. The next example, the meat was eaten by the dog. In this example, the meat is the subject, but here it is not performing the action. In fact, it is receiving the action, and the action is eaten. English was studied by Bill. English is the subject, but it is not the doer of the action, it is the receiver of the action. Let's talk about kinds of voice. In English grammar, we have got two kinds of voice. Number 1, active voice, and number 2, passive voice. What is active voice? It is a form of the verb which shows that the subject is the doer of the action. In active voice, we show that the subject performs an action, or in simple words, is the doer of the action. For example, the dog ate our turkey. The dog is the subject, and remember, the subject did the action. It did not receive the action, and the action is ate. So the voice of this sentence is active. And let's have some more examples. Number 1, Bilal plays chess. Here, Bilal is the subject and plays is the action. Bilal is performing the action, or it is the doer of the action. So we call the voice of this sentence active. Number 2, we are learning types of voice. Number 3, she doesn't cook rice. Number 4, the boys are not playing football. The boys is the subject. Let's talk about passive voice. It is a form of the verb which shows that the subject is the receiver of the action. In other words, in a sentence, when a subject receives the action, the voice of that sentence is passive. For example, our turkey was eaten by the dog. In this sentence, the subject is our turkey, but here it is not performing the action, or it is not the doer of the action. In fact, the subject is receiving the action, and the action is eaten. That's why we call it passive voice. There is an easy way of recognizing passive voice. And that is, whenever you see this structure in a sentence, that sentence must have passive voice. Be or is and are, or was or were, or being or been, plus verb 3. Let's have some more examples for passive voice. Number 1, chess is played by Bilal. If you see here, chess is a subject, but it is not performing the action, it is receiving the action. That's why we call it passive voice. And the structure is plus verb 3, so it's an easy way of recognizing if it is active or passive. Number 2, types of voice are being learned by us. we have being plus verb 3. Number 3, rice isn't cooked by her. Number 4, football is not being played by the boys. In this sentence, football is the subject and it is the receiver of the action. This is the end of part 1. This concludes our session for today. Do not forget the exercise that you have to perform after watching the same video. Remember, this is just a short version of our today's lessons. The very lesson is taught in complete details in our regular classes. Thank you.